You've been taught that you need medicine for every pain you feel in your body, but Buddhist monks discovered something completely different 2,500 years ago, that your body has an internal pharmacy waiting to be activated. When you stop fighting the pain and start listening to what it's trying to tell you, something extraordinary happens. Your body begins to heal itself through simple techniques you can do right now, sitting right where you are. Buddha taught that all physical suffering has a mental root, and today you'll learn the exact 10 techniques monks use to transform pain into healing without taking a single pill. These aren't empty promises. These are practices tested for thousands of years that modern science is finally beginning to understand. Subscribe to the channel, leave your like and comment from which part of the world you're watching. Get comfortable and relax. Let's begin. Have you ever wondered how ancient civilizations discovered ways to heal themselves without modern medicine? Long before hospitals, pharmaceuticals, and medical technology, people found remarkable ways to activate their body's natural healing abilities. Around 2,500 years ago, in the lush landscapes of northern India, a revolutionary approach to healing began to take shape. The year was approximately 500 BCE, a time when much of the world relied on primitive medical treatments, often based on superstition rather than understanding. But in the foothills of the Himalayas, something different was happening. Groups of Buddhist monks were making careful observations about their own bodies and minds during extended periods of meditation. These early Buddhist practitioners spent many hours each day sitting in quiet contemplation. During these long sessions, they began to notice something extraordinary. Their mental states directly affected their physical bodies. When their minds were calm and focused, their bodies responded differently than when their thoughts were agitated or scattered. Pain would sometimes diminish or disappear entirely when observed with a particular kind of attention. Illnesses seemed to resolve more quickly when approached with specific mental attitudes. Unlike many healers of their time who looked to external causes and cures, these monks turned their attention inward. They developed a systematic method of observation, carefully documenting what they experienced. The most comprehensive of these early records appears in the Satipatthana Sutta, one of the first written guides to mindfulness practices. This ancient text details specific techniques for observing the body, feelings, mind, and mental qualities, creating what we might consider the first documented mind-body healing system. What made this approach truly revolutionary was its basis in direct experience rather than theory. The monks didn't start with beliefs about how healing should work. Instead, they carefully observed what actually happened in their own bodies when they practiced various mental techniques. This empirical approach was unusual for its time, when most healing systems relied heavily on cultural traditions and supernatural explanations. As Buddhism spread throughout Asia over the following centuries, these healing practices traveled with it. The core techniques remained consistent, but each region developed unique variations that reflected local conditions and needs. In China, these practices merged with existing Taoist health traditions, creating new approaches that emphasized energy flow through the body. In Tibet, elaborate visualization techniques were added, creating powerful healing meditations that involved imagining divine figures and healing lights within the body. Japanese practitioners incorporated these techniques into their daily routines, finding ways to maintain mindfulness during ordinary activities. Despite these regional variations, the fundamental principle remained unchanged. The human body possesses remarkable abilities to heal itself when the proper mental conditions are established. This focus on internal healing capacity marked a significant departure from other medical traditions of the time. While many healing systems relied on external substances like herbs, minerals, or animal products, Buddhist healing emphasized that the most powerful medicines already existed within each person. This internal approach created another important advantage: accessibility. Since the primary tools for healing were attention and awareness rather than physical substances, these techniques were available to anyone willing to learn them. Unlike expensive treatments that only wealthy individuals could afford, Buddhist healing practices could be taught to people from all social classes. A simple farmer with no material resources could practice the same powerful healing techniques as a wealthy merchant or noble. Buddhist monasteries soon became important healing centers for surrounding communities. Monks skilled in these techniques would teach visitors how to apply mindfulness to their own conditions. The monasteries maintained gardens of medicinal plants and compiled texts on healing, but their greatest contribution was teaching people how to activate their own internal healing processes. Villagers would often travel long distances to learn these techniques, particularly for chronic conditions that hadn't responded to other treatments. The monks observed that consistent practice was essential for these techniques to work effectively. Brief or irregular attempts produced limited results, while dedicated daily practice led to profound changes in both mind and body. They recommended beginning with short periods of practice and gradually increasing the duration as one's capacity for sustained attention improved. Even 5 minutes of focused awareness practiced consistently was seen as more beneficial than occasional longer sessions. Records from this period describe numerous cases of successful healing. People suffering from pain conditions often found significant relief. Digestive disorders frequently improved after implementing mindful eating practices. Sleep disturbances diminished through evening meditation routines. Even serious illnesses sometimes responded when patients combined physical treatments with mental practices. The monks were careful not to claim that meditation could cure everything, but they documented its ability to improve many common conditions. What made these approaches particularly valuable was their integration of physical and mental health. Unlike healing systems that treated the body as separate from the mind, Buddhist practitioners recognized their profound interconnection. They observed that emotional states influenced physical conditions and that physical practices could alter mental states. This holistic understanding allowed them to address the root causes of many ailments rather than merely treating symptoms. The monks also discovered that healing often happened in stages rather than all at once. Initial practice might bring awareness of tension or discomfort that had previously gone unnoticed. This awareness, though sometimes uncomfortable, was considered an essential first step in the healing process. Only by fully acknowledging what was happening in the body could one begin to work with it effectively. After this recognition phase, practitioners would learn to relax around their discomfort rather than tensing against it, allowing natural healing processes to function more efficiently. These ancient healing techniques were preserved through an unbroken lineage of teachers and students, passing from generation to generation across centuries. While modern medicine has developed remarkable interventions for many conditions, these ancient practices continue to offer valuable approaches for working with the mind-body connection. The careful observations of those early Buddhist monks, documented in texts like the Satipatthana Sutta, provided a foundation for understanding how our mental states influence our physical well-being, a principle that modern science is now confirming through rigorous research. The healing journey that began in northern India 2,500 years ago continues today as people around the world discover the power of directing awareness toward bodily sensations with an attitude of open curiosity. When we experience pain or illness, our natural tendency is to resist or fight against these unpleasant sensations. But as those ancient practitioners discovered, this resistance often prevents our natural healing processes from functioning effectively. Chapter 2. Understanding Pain as Information. What would happen if you started thinking about pain as a message rather than something to fight against? This simple shift in perspective forms the foundation of Buddhist healing approaches to discomfort and suffering. In the ancient traditions we explored earlier, Buddhist practitioners made a revolutionary discovery about pain. While most healing systems throughout history have focused on eliminating pain as quickly as possible, these early meditators noticed something different. They observed that pain serves a vital function in the human body. It acts as a sophisticated communication system, constantly sending signals about problems that need attention. Think about what happens when you touch a hot surface. The sharp pain you feel immediately causes you to pull your hand away, preventing serious damage. This protective function of pain happens automatically before you even have time to think about it. But pain does more than just warn us about immediate dangers. Ongoing pain signals can alert us to infections, injuries, or imbalances within our bodies that require care. Without this communication system, we might not notice problems until they become much more serious. The Buddhist approach to pain differs significantly from how most of us have been taught to respond. In modern society, the typical reaction to pain involves trying to make it stop as quickly as possible. We take medications, distract ourselves, or try to push the sensation away through sheer willpower. While these strategies might provide temporary relief, Buddhist practitioners observed that they often create a problematic cycle in the long term. When we instantly resist pain or try to push it away, we create additional tension in both our bodies and minds. This tension doesn't just feel unpleasant, it actually amplifies suffering and can block natural healing processes. Picture someone with a headache who tenses their jaw, furrows their brow, and tightens their shoulders in response to the pain. These physical reactions don't help reduce the headache. They often make it worse and might even spread the discomfort to other parts of the body. Buddhist healing takes a radically different approach. Instead of immediately trying to eliminate pain, practitioners are taught to observe it with calm, non-judgmental awareness. This doesn't mean passively accepting harmful conditions or unnecessary suffering. Rather, it means pausing long enough to gather information about what's happening in the body before deciding how to respond. During this observation, practitioners notice specific qualities of their pain, its precise location, intensity, and changing nature. They might notice that what initially seemed like one solid block of pain actually contains different sensations, perhaps heat, pressure, or tingling. They also observe how the pain naturally fluctuates, sometimes becoming stronger and sometimes weaker rather than remaining constant as it often appears when we're resisting it. This observational approach creates a fascinating physiological shift. When we resist pain, our bodies typically go into a stress response, sometimes called fight or flight, or this response evolved to help us survive immediate physical threats, but it's not helpful for managing ongoing pain conditions. During a stress response, stress hormones flood the body, muscles tense, blood pressure rises, and resources are diverted away from healing processes to prepare for emergency action. In contrast, the mindful observation of pain helps activate what scientists now call the rest and digest system, the parasympathetic nervous system. When this system engages, the body releases different chemicals that reduce inflammation, relax muscles, and support healing processes. Heart rate slows, blood pressure decreases, and the body shifts from emergency mode into recovery mode. Ancient Buddhist texts describe this process as turning toward rather than turning away from difficult sensations. This phrase captures the essence of the practice, a willingness to face discomfort directly rather than immediately trying to escape it. Modern research has confirmed the wisdom of this approach, showing that people who can maintain awareness of pain without excessive emotional reactivity often experience less suffering, even when the physical sensation itself hasn't changed. An important clarification about this approach: turning toward pain doesn't mean passively enduring harmful conditions. If your hand is on a hot stove, the wise response is still to remove it immediately. The Buddhist approach distinguishes between helpful reactions that address the source of pain and unhelpful reactions that add unnecessary suffering through resistance and tension. This distinction requires practitioners to develop what Buddhist teachers call clear seeing. This means observing both the physical sensation and our habitual reactions to it. Many of us have developed automatic responses to pain that we're barely aware of, perhaps tensing certain muscles, holding our breath, or immediately reaching for medication. These reactions happen so quickly that we don't notice the space between the sensation and our response to it. Mindfulness practice creates a small gap between feeling pain and reacting to it. In this gap, practitioners have the opportunity to choose a wise response rather than falling into habitual patterns. Sometimes that wise response might indeed be taking medication or seeking medical treatment. Other times it might involve changing position, applying heat or cold, or simply continuing to observe as the sensation changes on its own. The Buddhist approach to pain also addresses the psychological dimensions of suffering. When we experience pain, we often add layers of mental distress through thoughts like "this is terrible" or "this will never end" or "I can't handle this." These thoughts create fear, anxiety, and resistance that intensify the experience of suffering beyond the physical sensation itself. By observing these thought patterns with the same non-judgmental awareness used to observe physical sensations, practitioners begin to recognize how much of their suffering comes from mental reactions rather than the original pain signal. This recognition doesn't eliminate pain, but it often reduces suffering significantly by removing unnecessary mental distress. One of the most valuable insights from Buddhist pain management approaches is understanding the difference between pain and suffering. Pain refers to the physical sensation itself, the signals sent by nerves to the brain. Suffering encompasses everything we add to that sensation through resistance, fear, tension, and negative thoughts. While we may have limited control over pain signals, especially in chronic conditions, we have much more influence over the suffering component. This distinction has profound implications for how we approach discomfort. If much of our suffering comes from how we relate to pain rather than the pain itself, changing that relationship can significantly improve our experience even when the sensation persists. This principle applies not just to physical pain but to emotional discomfort as well. The practice of relating to pain differently requires patience and consistent effort. Most of us have spent our entire lives automatically resisting unpleasant sensations, so developing a new relationship with pain takes time. Buddhist practitioners typically start with observing mild discomfort, like the sensation in legs during seated meditation, before applying these techniques to more intense pain. With practice, many people discover they can be with increasingly difficult sensations without adding layers of tension and distress. This skill proves valuable not just for managing chronic pain conditions, but for facing all kinds of challenging experiences with greater ease and clarity. Modern medical research has validated many aspects of the Buddhist approach to pain. Studies using brain imaging technology have shown that experienced meditators process pain differently than non-meditators. While they still register the sensory aspect of pain, they show reduced activity in brain regions associated with suffering and distress. Their brains don't amplify pain signals through fear and resistance the way most untrained brains do. The practical application of these principles doesn't require adopting Buddhist religious beliefs. The techniques work because they align with how our nervous systems naturally function. When we create conditions of calm, non-judgmental awareness, we support our body's innate healing capacities rather than interfering with them through stress responses. As we've explored how Buddhist healing approaches the experience of pain as information rather than an enemy, we've laid the groundwork for understanding why these practices affect our physical bodies so powerfully. The shift from resistance to observation creates physiological changes throughout our systems, altering the chemical environment in which healing takes place. This internal environment, shaped by our mental states, plays a crucial role in how effectively our bodies can repair themselves. Chapter 3. The body's natural healing compounds. Did you know your body makes its own powerful medicine? Inside each of us exists a remarkable internal pharmacy that produces healing compounds more powerful than many prescription drugs, and they come with no prescription, no cost, and no harmful side effects. The previous chapter explored how Buddhist practitioners approach pain differently, viewing it as information rather than an enemy. This shift from resistance to observation creates conditions that allow the body's natural healing processes to function more effectively. At the center of these healing processes are several powerful chemical compounds produced within our own bodies that regulate pain, influence mood and promote tissue repair. Among the most important of these natural healing compounds are endorphins, which act as the body's own painkillers. The word endorphin comes from endogenous morphine, meaning morphine produced within the body. These natural substances can be up to 200 times more powerful than medical morphine, yet they work without the harmful side effects or risk of dependency that comes with prescription pain medications. When endorphins are released, they bind to the same receptors in the brain that respond to opioid medications, reducing pain perception and creating a sense of well-being. Another key compound in our internal pharmacy is dopamine, often called the feel-good neurotransmitter. Dopamine plays important roles in movement, motivation, and emotional responses. When dopamine levels are balanced, we feel more positive, motivated, and capable of healing. Low dopamine levels are associated with depression, lack of motivation, and difficulty initiating movement, all states that can interfere with recovery from illness or injury. Serotonin represents another crucial healing compound produced within the body. This neurotransmitter helps regulate mood, appetite, and sleep, all essential components of the healing process. Balanced serotonin levels promote feelings of calm and contentment, while low levels are linked to depression, anxiety, and sleep disorders. Since adequate sleep is essential for tissue repair and immune function, proper serotonin levels directly support physical healing. The fourth major healing compound is oxytocin, sometimes referred to as the bonding hormone. Oxytocin is released during positive social interactions, physical touch, and feelings of trust and connection. This powerful substance reduces stress hormones, lowers blood pressure, and promotes feelings of safety and security. Since healing occurs most effectively when the body feels safe, oxytocin creates ideal conditions for recovery from illness and injury. Modern scientific research has confirmed what Buddhist practitioners discovered through direct experience. Specific meditation techniques can significantly increase the production of these natural healing compounds. Studies conducted at Massachusetts General Hospital showed that participants who practiced meditation regularly for 8 weeks experienced a 43% increase in natural painkillers circulating in their bloodstream. These individuals reported less pain and greater well-being, even when facing challenging physical conditions. What makes these findings particularly remarkable is that no external substances were introduced into the body. The participants simply learned specific ways of focusing their attention and regulating their breath. These mental practices triggered the increased production of healing compounds that were already available within their own bodies. This research provides scientific validation for practices that Buddhist healers have taught for 25 centuries. The benefits of these natural compounds extend beyond pain relief. When we produce optimal levels of these substances, inflammation throughout the body decreases significantly. Inflammation plays a necessary role in the initial stages of healing, but excessive or prolonged inflammation can delay recovery and cause additional damage to tissues. The balanced release of natural anti-inflammatory compounds helps keep this process regulated properly. Unlike external medications that often target single pathways or symptoms, the body's natural healing compounds work together in a synchronized way. Endorphins reduce pain, which allows the body to relax, which increases oxytocin, which further reduces stress, which improves sleep quality, which enhances tissue repair, creating a positive cycle that supports healing on multiple levels simultaneously. This coordinated response represents one of the most significant advantages of working with the body's internal pharmacy rather than relying solely on external interventions. Another advantage of these natural compounds is their precision. When the body produces its own healing substances, they are released in exactly the right amounts needed for the current situation. They also target the specific areas where they're most needed, rather than affecting the entire system uniformly as many medications do. This targeted approach minimizes unwanted effects while maximizing healing benefits. Research has shown that these natural healing compounds work best when the body is in a calm, balanced state, precisely the condition that Buddhist meditation practices create. When we experience chronic stress, fear, or tension, the production of stress hormones like cortisol and adrenaline interferes with the optimal functioning of our internal pharmacy. Stress hormones signal danger to the body, triggering physiological responses designed for immediate survival rather than long-term healing. By cultivating mental states that activate the parasympathetic nervous system, often called the rest and digest response, Buddhist practices create ideal conditions for the production and utilization of natural healing compounds. This explains why consistent meditation practice leads to measurable improvements in many health conditions, from chronic pain to inflammatory disorders to sleep disturbances. The practice of metta, or loving-kindness meditation, provides an excellent example of how Buddhist techniques influence our internal chemistry. During metta practice, individuals intentionally cultivate feelings of goodwill toward themselves and others, mentally repeating phrases like, "May I be well," or "May all beings be peaceful." Research has shown that this practice increases levels of oxytocin and other positive neurotransmitters while decreasing stress hormones. Similarly, mindful breathing practices have been shown to increase endorphin levels, particularly when the exhalation is extended slightly longer than the inhalation. This simple adjustment to breathing patterns signals safety to the nervous system, allowing it to shift from stress response to recovery mode. As the nervous system relaxes, natural painkillers and anti-inflammatory compounds are released in greater quantities. Body scanning, another core Buddhist practice, helps distribute these healing compounds more effectively throughout the physical system. As practitioners move their awareness systematically through different regions of the body, blood flow increases to areas that receive attention. This improved circulation helps deliver natural healing substances to tissues that may previously have received limited blood supply due to tension or constriction. The effects of these natural compounds extend beyond immediate symptom relief to support deeper healing processes. For example, certain endorphins stimulate the production of natural killer cells, which play an important role in immune function. Others promote tissue regeneration by enhancing cellular repair mechanisms. The balanced release of dopamine improves motivation and engagement in health-promoting behaviors, creating a positive cycle that supports long-term well-being. What makes these findings particularly significant is their accessibility. While pharmaceutical interventions are often expensive, come with side effects, and may be unavailable to many people worldwide, the practices that stimulate our internal pharmacy cost nothing and can be learned by almost anyone. The main requirement is consistent practice, typically 10 to 20 minutes daily for noticeable benefits, with more substantial effects emerging after 8 weeks of regular practice. Research on these natural healing compounds continues to expand our understanding of the mind-body connection. Scientists at Harvard University, the University of Wisconsin, and other leading research institutions have documented not just the presence of these compounds during meditation, but also their specific effects on different body systems. These studies provide scientific validation for what Buddhist practitioners have known through direct experience for centuries. Dr. Herbert Benson, a pioneer in mind-body medicine at Harvard Medical School, conducted some of the earliest scientific research on meditation's physiological effects. His work documented how simple breathing and attention practices could trigger what he called the relaxation response, a state characterized by decreased stress hormones and increased production of healing compounds. This research helped bring Buddhist healing practices into mainstream medical settings, where they're now used as complementary approaches for many conditions. One of the most powerful aspects of working with natural healing compounds is sustainability. Unlike external medications that may become less effective over time as the body develops tolerance, the benefits of practices that stimulate our internal pharmacy often increase with consistent use. Long-term meditators typically show greater production of positive neurotransmitters and lower baseline levels of stress hormones than beginners, suggesting that these benefits accumulate over time. The research on natural healing compounds represents a significant bridge between ancient Buddhist wisdom and modern medical science. Both traditions, despite emerging from vastly different cultural contexts separated by thousands of years, have arrived at similar conclusions. The human body possesses remarkable capacities for self-healing when provided with the right conditions. Buddhist practices offer systematic methods for creating those conditions through specific ways of directing attention and regulating breath. As we've explored how meditation and mindfulness practices stimulate the body's production of natural healing compounds, we've established a foundation for understanding the broader physiological changes that occur during these practices. Beyond the specific chemicals discussed in this chapter, Buddhist healing techniques create comprehensive shifts in how the body functions, affecting everything from nervous system activation to immune response to cellular repair processes. These wider physiological mechanisms represent the next frontier in understanding how ancient practices support modern health and well-being. Chapter 4: Physiological Mechanisms of Meditation. What actually happens inside your body when you meditate? Beyond feeling more relaxed or less stressed, meditation creates measurable physical changes from your brain to your immune system that scientists can now observe and document. We explored in the previous chapter how meditation stimulates the production of natural healing compounds like endorphins and oxytocin. These powerful chemicals represent just one aspect of meditation's effects on physical health. To fully understand how Buddhist healing practices influence well-being, we need to examine the broader physiological mechanisms at work throughout the entire body during meditation. At the center of these mechanisms is the autonomic nervous system, which controls bodily functions that happen automatically without conscious control. This system has two main branches that work in balance with each other. The sympathetic branch activates during stress or emergencies, often called the fight or flight response. The parasympathetic branch promotes relaxation, healing, and digestion, sometimes referred to as rest and digest. Buddhist meditation practices directly activate the parasympathetic nervous system. When a person sits in meditation and focuses on their breath or body sensations, the parasympathetic branch becomes dominant, creating a cascade of healing responses throughout the body. This activation isn't just a subjective experience. It creates measurable physical changes that scientists can observe and document. One of the most immediate effects occurs in the cardiovascular system. Blood pressure typically decreases by 5 to 7 points in regular practitioners during meditation sessions. Heart rate slows by 3 to 5 beats per minute on average. These changes reduce strain on the heart and blood vessels, potentially decreasing the risk of cardiovascular problems over time. For people with hypertension, regular meditation practice can sometimes reduce blood pressure enough to lower medication needs, though any medication changes should always be supervised by healthcare providers. Breathing patterns shift significantly during meditation as well. Most people breathe shallowly in daily life, using only the upper portion of their lungs. During meditation, breathing naturally becomes deeper and more efficient, engaging the diaphragm more fully. This improved breathing pattern increases oxygen intake by up to 20% while reducing the number of breaths needed per minute. More oxygen reaches body tissues, supporting cellular function and energy production. Perhaps one of the most significant physiological changes involves stress hormones, particularly cortisol. This hormone plays important roles in the body, but chronically elevated cortisol levels contribute to many health problems, including inflammation, weight gain, digestive issues, and impaired immune function. Research shows that during regular meditation practice, blood cortisol levels decrease by up to 20%. This reduction in stress hormones creates a more favorable internal environment for healing processes. The decreased cortisol levels lead directly to another important physiological benefit: reduced inflammation throughout the body. Chronic inflammation contributes to many illnesses including heart disease, diabetes, arthritis, and autoimmune conditions. When scientists examine blood samples from regular meditators, they find lower levels of inflammatory markers like C-reactive protein and interleukin-6. This reduction in inflammation helps explain why meditation practices can benefit such a wide range of physical conditions. Circulation improves dramatically during meditation sessions. As the body relaxes and stress hormones decrease, blood vessels dilate, allowing blood to flow more freely throughout the system. This enhanced circulation brings more oxygen and nutrients to tissues while removing waste products more efficiently. Areas that previously received limited blood flow due to chronic tension begin to receive better circulation, supporting tissue repair and regeneration. The digestive system functions significantly better when the parasympathetic nervous system is activated through meditation. Digestion requires considerable energy and works most efficiently in a relaxed state. When stress activates the sympathetic nervous system, blood flow diverts away from digestive organs, causing problems with nutrient absorption and waste elimination. Meditation reverses this pattern, increasing blood flow to digestive organs by approximately 30%. This improved circulation helps heal gut lining damage caused by stress and supports the healthy function of digestive enzymes. Immune function shows remarkable improvement through regular meditation practice. Studies reveal increased T-cell production and enhanced activity of natural killer cells, which protect against viruses and cancer cells. The immune system becomes more balanced, responding appropriately to genuine threats while reducing unnecessary inflammatory responses. This balanced immune function helps explain why regular meditators often report fewer colds and infections. Brainwave patterns shift dramatically during meditation sessions, as measured by electroencephalogram EEG recordings. In normal waking consciousness, the brain typically shows high levels of beta waves, which are associated with active thinking and problem solving. During meditation, practitioners show increased alpha waves associated with relaxed alertness and theta waves associated with deep meditation states. Long-term meditators often develop the ability to maintain these beneficial brainwave patterns even when not actively meditating. Blood flow to the brain increases during meditation, particularly to regions associated with attention and emotional regulation. This enhanced cerebral circulation supports optimal brain function and may contribute to the cognitive benefits that many practitioners report, including improved concentration, memory, and decision-making abilities. The increased blood flow also delivers nutrients and oxygen that support brain cell health and potentially protect against age-related decline. Temperature regulation improves through meditation practices. Many people experience cold hands and feet due to stress-induced constriction of blood vessels in their extremities. As meditation activates the parasympathetic system, these blood vessels dilate, allowing warmer blood to reach fingers and toes. Researchers can actually measure skin temperature increases in the extremities during meditation sessions, providing a visible marker of improved circulation. Muscle tension decreases significantly during meditation. Many people carry chronic tension in their shoulders, jaw, lower back, and other areas without realizing it. This ongoing tension consumes energy, contributes to pain, and can restrict blood flow to affected tissues. During meditation, practitioners often become aware of this unconscious tension and learn to release it, allowing muscles to receive better circulation and function more efficiently. Hormone production changes beyond just reduced cortisol levels. Meditation influences the endocrine system more broadly, helping balance hormones that regulate many bodily functions. Growth hormone, which supports tissue repair, tends to increase during meditation. Melatonin, which regulates sleep cycles, often increases with regular practice. These hormonal shifts create a more balanced internal environment that supports healing and well-being. Cellular metabolism, the chemical processes that maintain life at the cellular level, becomes more efficient with regular meditation. Cells use oxygen more effectively and produce energy more efficiently. Waste products are removed more completely, and DNA repair mechanisms function better. These cellular-level changes may help explain why long-term meditators often show biological markers of being significantly younger than their chronological age. The speed of these physiological changes varies among individuals and depends on the frequency and duration of practice. Some changes, like decreased heart rate and blood pressure, begin within minutes of starting a meditation session. Others, like improved immune function and reduced inflammatory markers, typically develop over weeks or months of regular practice. The most profound physiological shifts, including changes to brain structure and cellular function, usually emerge after months or years of consistent meditation. What makes these physiological changes particularly remarkable is that they occur without any external intervention. No medications, devices, or procedures are needed, just focused attention and regulated breathing. The body already knows how to create optimal conditions for healing. Meditation simply removes the obstacles that normally prevent these natural processes from functioning effectively. The physiological benefits of meditation don't require advanced techniques or hours of daily practice to become noticeable. Research shows that even 10 minutes of daily meditation can trigger many of these beneficial mechanisms. The key factor appears to be consistency rather than duration. Regular brief sessions produce more stable physiological improvements than occasional longer sessions. Scientists studying these mechanisms have found that different meditation techniques emphasize different physiological effects. Focused attention practices, which involve concentrating on a single object like the breath, particularly activate the parasympathetic nervous system and improve attention networks in the brain. Open monitoring practices, which involve observing whatever arises in awareness without focusing on any particular object, seem to particularly enhance immune function and emotional regulation. Loving-kindness meditation, which involves generating positive feelings toward oneself and others, specifically increases oxytocin production and improves social connection markers. Understanding these physiological mechanisms provides the scientific foundation for specific Buddhist healing practices that have been refined over centuries. While ancient practitioners lacked the technology to measure cortisol levels or observe brain activity, they developed sophisticated techniques based on direct observation of how different mental practices affected physical well-being. Their empirical approach led to the development of specific meditation methods designed to address particular health challenges by activating the body's natural healing mechanisms. The growing scientific understanding of meditation's physiological effects has helped bring these ancient practices into mainstream healthcare settings. Major medical centers now offer mindfulness programs for conditions ranging from chronic pain to heart disease to cancer recovery. Healthcare providers increasingly recognize that activating these natural healing mechanisms can complement conventional treatments and sometimes reduce medication needs. As our exploration of Buddhist healing continues, we'll examine the specific meditation techniques that activate these physiological mechanisms. These time-tested practices provide practical methods for engaging the body's natural healing abilities through focused attention and regulated breathing. Each technique targets particular aspects of physiology while contributing to overall well-being through their combined effects on the body's interconnected systems. Chapter 5. Key Buddhist Healing Practices. Have you ever wondered which specific meditation techniques actually activate the healing responses we've been exploring? After 25 centuries of careful observation and practice, Buddhist traditions have developed several core techniques that directly influence physical health and well-being. In our previous exploration of meditation's physiological effects, we saw how these practices trigger measurable changes throughout the body. From reduced stress hormones to improved immune function to enhanced circulation. These beneficial physiological shifts don't happen randomly. They result from specific mental techniques that have been refined across generations of practice and observation. Understanding these core practices provides practical tools for engaging your body's natural healing capacities. Perhaps the most fundamental of all Buddhist healing practices is anapanasati, a Pali word meaning mindfulness of breathing. This technique involves focusing attention on the natural breath without attempting to control or change it. Practitioners simply notice the sensations of breathing, the air flowing through the nostrils, the rising and falling of the chest or abdomen, the slight pause between inhale and exhale. This seemingly simple practice creates profound physiological effects throughout the body. When practicing anapanasati, you activate the vagus nerve, one of the most important nerves in the parasympathetic nervous system. The vagus nerve connects your brain to many major organs, including your heart, lungs, and digestive system. When stimulated through mindful breathing, this nerve sends signals that reduce inflammation throughout the body. Scientists have documented how vagus nerve activation lowers levels of inflammatory proteins in the blood and helps regulate the immune system's response to injury or illness. The practice begins with finding a comfortable position, either seated or lying down, where you can remain relatively still. You then bring your attention to the natural rhythm of your breathing without trying to change it. Each time your mind wanders, which happens frequently for everyone, you gently return your focus to the breath. This repeated process of noticing when attention has drifted and bringing it back strengthens the brain's attention networks while simultaneously activating the body's relaxation response. For beginners, the breath provides an ideal focus for meditation because it's always available and constantly changing. The subtle variations in each breath help maintain interest and engagement. Even 5 minutes of mindful breathing can begin to shift your physiological state from stress to recovery mode. With regular practice, these effects become stronger and more sustained. Another core healing practice is metta, or loving-kindness meditation. While anapanasati focuses attention on physical sensations, metta cultivates specific emotional states that promote healing. During this practice, you systematically develop feelings of goodwill, first toward yourself and then gradually extending to others. The practice typically uses simple phrases such as, "May I be well," or "May I be healthy and strong," repeated silently while generating the corresponding feeling. Metta practice creates distinct physiological effects. Research shows it increases positive emotions while reducing negative thought patterns that contribute to stress and illness. The practice stimulates areas of the brain associated with empathy and positive emotions while decreasing activity in regions linked to stress and negativity. Perhaps most importantly for healing, metta meditation increases oxytocin production, the hormone that promotes feelings of safety, trust, and connection. This feeling of safety is crucial for healing because the body allocates resources differently when it feels threatened versus when it feels secure. In states of perceived threat, energy diverts toward defensive systems at the expense of regenerative processes. By cultivating feelings of safety and well-being through metta practice, you create internal conditions where healing can occur more efficiently. Body scanning represents another powerful healing technique in the Buddhist tradition. This practice involves systematically moving awareness through different regions of the body, noticing sensations without judgment. You typically begin at the top of the head or the tips of the toes and gradually move attention through every part of the body, spending a few moments with each area before moving to the next. The physiological effects of body scanning are particularly noteworthy. As you direct attention to specific areas of the body, blood flow increases to those regions. Areas that previously received limited circulation due to tension or unconscious holding patterns begin to receive better blood supply. This improved circulation delivers oxygen, nutrients, and immune cells while removing metabolic waste products that can contribute to pain and inflammation. Body scanning also helps identify areas where tension is being held unconsciously. Many people carry chronic tension in their jaw, shoulders, or lower back without realizing it. This ongoing muscle contraction consumes energy, restricts blood flow, and can contribute to pain over time. By bringing awareness to these areas, practitioners often spontaneously release tension they didn't know they were holding. For people experiencing pain or illness, body scanning offers a way to work directly with difficult sensations. Rather than avoiding awareness of uncomfortable areas, the practice involves bringing gentle, curious attention to these regions. This approach often reveals that what initially seemed like one solid block of pain actually contains different sensations of varying intensity that change from moment to moment. This more nuanced perception typically reduces suffering even when the physical sensation itself remains present. Walking meditation provides another approach to Buddhist healing that incorporates physical movement with mental awareness. This practice involves walking slowly and deliberately while maintaining focused attention on the sensations of movement, the lifting of the foot, the movement through space, the placing down on the ground. For people who find seated meditation challenging due to restlessness or physical discomfort, walking meditation offers an accessible alternative. The health benefits of walking meditation extend beyond those of ordinary walking. The slow, deliberate pace improves balance and coordination. The focused attention on movement helps break habitual movement patterns that might contribute to musculoskeletal problems. The combination of gentle physical activity with mental focus creates a state of relaxed alertness that supports healing while building physical stamina. Mindful eating practices focus attention on the sensations, tastes, and textures of food. These techniques involve eating slowly and without distraction, noticing the appearance, aroma, flavor, and physical sensations associated with each bite. Practitioners pause between bites, putting down utensils and fully completing each mouthful before taking another. The physiological benefits of mindful eating are substantial. Digestion begins in the mouth with enzymes in saliva that break down carbohydrates. By chewing thoroughly and eating slowly, you maximize this initial digestive process. The practice also gives your brain time to register fullness signals from your stomach, which typically take about 20 minutes to reach the brain. This improved awareness of satiety cues helps prevent overeating while enhancing enjoyment of meals. For people with digestive disorders, mindful eating can be particularly therapeutic. The relaxed state cultivated during this practice activates the parasympathetic nervous system, which controls digestive functions. Blood flow increases to digestive organs, enzyme production improves, and the entire digestive process becomes more efficient. Many practitioners report reduced symptoms of conditions like irritable bowel syndrome and acid reflux after implementing mindful eating. Tonglen, a Tibetan Buddhist practice, offers a unique approach to healing that works directly with difficult emotions. The word Tonglen means giving and taking in Tibetan. During this practice, you breathe in while imagining taking in suffering, your own or others, and breathe out while imagining sending out relief, healing, or whatever might be helpful. Unlike some meditations that focus on cultivating pleasant states, Tonglen works directly with challenging experiences. The psychological benefits of Tonglen include reduced avoidance of difficult emotions and increased compassion for oneself and others. Physiologically, the practice helps process emotions that might otherwise remain stuck in the body as tension or stress. By working with difficult feelings rather than suppressing them, Tonglen helps complete emotional processing cycles that can otherwise contribute to physical tension and stress-related illness. These core practices, mindful breathing, loving-kindness meditation, body scanning, walking meditation, mindful eating, and Tonglen, form the foundation of Buddhist healing. Each technique activates specific physiological mechanisms that support health and well-being. When practiced regularly, they create cumulative effects that can significantly influence both acute and chronic health conditions. Buddhist healing practices take a systematic approach to developing awareness. Beginners typically start with basic mindfulness of breathing to establish foundational attention skills. As these skills develop, practitioners gradually incorporate more complex techniques like body scanning and loving-kindness meditation. This progressive training builds capacity over time, allowing practitioners to work with increasingly challenging physical and emotional states. An important aspect of these practices is their adaptability for different needs and abilities. For people with physical limitations that make traditional seated meditation difficult, modifications exist for every technique. Body scanning can be practiced lying down. Breathing meditation can focus on any part of the breathing process that is easily noticeable. Walking meditation can be adapted for those using wheelchairs or with limited mobility. This flexibility makes Buddhist healing practices accessible across diverse populations with varying abilities and health conditions. The effectiveness of these techniques doesn't depend on adopting Buddhist religious beliefs or philosophy. While these practices emerge within a Buddhist context, they work through physiological mechanisms that are universal to human biology. People from diverse cultural and religious backgrounds can benefit from these techniques without conflict with their existing belief systems. This universality explains why these practices have been successfully integrated into secular healthcare settings worldwide. As we continue our exploration of Buddhist healing approaches, we'll examine how these practices change the brain itself through neuroplasticity, the brain's ability to form new neural connections throughout life. The mental techniques described in this chapter don't just temporarily alter physiological states. With regular practice, they actually reshape brain structure and function in ways that support long-term health and well-being. Chapter 6: Neuroplasticity and Brain Changes. What if your brain is actually changing its physical structure every time you meditate? This isn't science fiction, it's neuroplasticity, and researchers can now see these changes happening using advanced brain imaging technology. In the previous chapter, we explored the core Buddhist healing practices that have been refined over centuries of careful observation. These techniques, mindful breathing, loving-kindness meditation, body scanning, and others, create immediate physiological changes throughout the body. But something even more remarkable happens when these practices become regular habits. They literally change the physical structure of the brain itself. For most of the 20th century, scientists believed that the brain stopped developing after childhood. They thought that once we reached adulthood, our brain structure was essentially fixed. This belief has been completely overturned by modern neuroscience. We now know that the brain remains changeable throughout our entire lives through a process called neuroplasticity. This term refers to the brain's ability to form new neural connections and reorganize itself in response to experiences, learning, and even thoughts. Every time you practice meditation, you're not just creating temporary states of calm or focus, you're building lasting traits by changing your brain's physical structure. These changes can be observed and measured using sophisticated brain imaging techniques like magnetic resonance imaging (MRI). Scientists at Harvard University, the University of Wisconsin, and other leading research institutions have documented specific structural changes in the brains of people who practice meditation regularly. One of the most significant findings involves gray matter, the part of the brain containing most of the actual brain cells. Studies show increased gray matter density in brain regions associated with learning, memory, and emotional regulation after just 8 weeks of regular meditation practice. This means that these important areas of the brain actually become thicker and contain more neurons in people who meditate regularly. The prefrontal cortex shows particularly notable changes. This region, located just behind your forehead, handles many important functions including decision-making, planning, emotional regulation, and attention. Brain scans reveal that this area becomes physically thicker in long-term meditators. This increased thickness correlates with improved ability to focus attention, make wise decisions, and manage emotional responses, all skills that support both mental and physical health. While some areas of the brain grow larger with meditation, others actually become smaller. The amygdala, a small almond-shaped structure deep in the brain that processes fear and stress, shows decreased volume and activity in regular meditators. This reduction doesn't mean the amygdala stops working. Rather, it becomes appropriately responsive instead of overactive. Since the amygdala triggers stress responses that can harm physical health when chronically activated, this change has important implications for healing. These structural brain changes happen through several mechanisms. When we repeatedly practice certain thoughts or mental states during meditation, the brain strengthens the neural networks that support those states. This strengthening occurs partly through a process called myelination, where the connecting fibers between neurons develop thicker insulation, allowing signals to travel more efficiently. The brain also creates entirely new connections between neurons in response to repeated practice, forming new pathways that support the skills being developed. The brain changes that occur through meditation follow the principle that neuroscientists often summarize as neurons that fire together, wire together. When you consistently practice focusing your attention during mindful breathing, for instance, the brain cells involved in attention actually connect more strongly with each other. Over time, this makes focused attention more accessible even when you're not formally meditating. This explains why beginning meditators often struggle to maintain focus for even a few minutes, while experienced practitioners can maintain steady attention with much less effort. The relevant brain networks have literally been strengthened through repeated practice, making the skill more natural and requiring less conscious effort. This progression mirrors how we learn any skill, from riding a bicycle to playing a musical instrument. What initially requires intense concentration eventually becomes more automatic. The timeline for these brain changes varies among individuals, but research shows that noticeable structural changes begin to appear after approximately 8 weeks of regular practice. A landmark study at Massachusetts General Hospital documented increased gray matter in the hippocampus, important for learning and memory, and decreased volume in the amygdala after participants completed an 8-week mindfulness program practicing for 45 minutes daily. These structural changes aren't merely academic curiosities, they translate into measurable improvements in how the brain functions. For example, the default mode network, a set of brain regions active when the mind is wandering or engaged in self-referential thinking, shows reduced activity in experienced meditators. Since excessive activity in this network is associated with rumination, worry, and unhappiness, this change helps explain why regular meditation practice often leads to improved mood and reduced anxiety. The connection between these brain changes and healing becomes clear when we consider how mental states influence physical health. The amygdala, which becomes smaller with regular meditation, plays a central role in stress responses that can contribute to or worsen many illnesses. When the amygdala is chronically activated, it triggers the release of stress hormones that increase inflammation, impair immune function, and interfere with healing processes. By reducing amygdala activity through meditation, the brain becomes less reactive to potential threats and maintains a more balanced physiological state that supports health. Similarly, the increased thickness in the prefrontal cortex enhances our ability to make health-promoting choices. This brain region helps us resist immediate temptations in favor of long-term well-being, stick with beneficial habits even when they're challenging, and respond thoughtfully rather than reactively to difficult situations. All these abilities contribute significantly to maintaining health and supporting recovery from illness. The insula, another brain region that shows increased thickness in meditators, helps us maintain awareness of internal bodily sensations. This enhanced interoceptive awareness, the ability to notice what's happening inside our bodies, allows earlier detection of tension, pain, or other signals that might indicate developing problems. By noticing these signals sooner, we can address issues before they become serious or chronic. Even more remarkable than these individual changes is how meditation affects the brain's overall connectivity. Long-term meditation practitioners show enhanced communication between different brain regions with stronger connections between areas responsible for attention, emotional regulation, and bodily awareness. This improved integration supports more balanced responses to challenges and more efficient coordination of the body's healing resources. Harvard researcher Sarah Lazar conducted some of the most compelling studies in this field. Her team found that the age-related thinning of the prefrontal cortex, a normal part of aging, was significantly reduced in long-term meditators. In fact, 50-year-old meditators in her study had prefrontal cortex thickness similar to 25-year-olds in the control group. This finding suggests that meditation might help maintain cognitive function as we age, with potential implications for preventing age-related cognitive decline. The brain changes induced by meditation aren't limited to any particular age group. Studies with participants ranging from young adults to seniors show that neuroplasticity remains active throughout life. While younger brains might change more quickly, even people in their 80s and 90s show measurable brain changes with consistent practice. This contradicts the old belief that cognitive function inevitably declines with age and offers hope for maintaining brain health throughout life. Another important aspect of meditation-induced brain changes involves pain perception. The brain regions involved in processing pain show altered activity patterns in experienced meditators. While they still register the sensory aspect of pain, the physical sensation itself, the regions responsible for the emotional and evaluative components of pain experience show reduced activity. This explains why meditators often report being able to experience pain with less suffering and emotional distress. These brain changes don't require hours of daily practice to develop. Research shows that even modest amounts of regular practice, as little as 10 to 20 minutes daily, can begin to create structural changes after 8 weeks. The key factor appears to be consistency rather than duration. Regular brief sessions produce more stable brain changes than occasional longer sessions. Different meditation techniques appear to affect the brain in slightly different ways, though with considerable overlap. Focused attention practices like mindful breathing particularly strengthen regions involved in concentration and attention. Open monitoring practices, which involve observing whatever arises in awareness without focusing on any particular object, especially enhance regions involved in present moment awareness and cognitive flexibility. Loving kindness meditation particularly affects regions involved in emotional processing and empathy. The brain changes created through meditation practice explain why the benefits often extend beyond the meditation session itself. As the physical structure of the brain changes, new capabilities and tendencies become embedded in how the brain functions during everyday activities. The person who has practiced mindful breathing for months or years doesn't just experience calm during meditation. Their brain has been reshaped in ways that make calm more accessible in daily life. This concept of neuroplasticity provides the scientific foundation for understanding how ancient Buddhist practices create lasting healing effects. While early Buddhist practitioners couldn't observe physical brain changes directly, they recognized that consistent mental training created enduring shifts in how people experience the world. Modern neuroscience has now confirmed their observations by documenting the physical changes that underlie these experiences. As our understanding of Buddhist healing continues to develop, we'll explore how these brain changes specifically affect our experience of pain and our ability to work with chronic health conditions. The neuroplastic changes we've examined create new possibilities for relating to discomfort and illness in ways that reduce suffering and support healing processes. Chapter 7. Addressing chronic pain conditions. How is it possible that some people with severe chronic pain can reduce their suffering by 30 to 50% without taking any medication? This question has fascinated medical researchers who study the effects of Buddhist meditation practices on persistent pain conditions. In the previous chapter, we explored how meditation creates lasting physical changes in the brain through neuroplasticity. These brain changes have particularly important implications for people living with chronic pain. The same mechanisms that allow meditation to strengthen attention and emotional regulation also enable it to transform how the brain processes pain signals, creating possibilities for relief even when pain has persisted for years or decades. To understand how Buddhist healing approaches chronic pain, we need to first recognize how chronic pain differs from acute pain. Acute pain serves as a warning signal that something is damaged and needs protection. It typically resolves once the injury heals. Chronic pain, however, continues long after tissue healing has occurred, often lasting months or years. In many cases, the pain signals continue even when no ongoing damage can be detected. This persistence happens because of a process called central sensitization. When pain messages travel repeatedly along the same neural pathways, These pathways become increasingly sensitive, like a path in grass that becomes more defined with repeated walking. The pain processing regions in the brain and spinal cord become hyper-responsive, often reacting strongly to signals that would normally produce only mild discomfort or no pain at all. This increased sensitivity makes pain feel worse over time and more resistant to traditional treatments. Buddhist healing approaches this problem by helping create alternative neural pathways, rather than simply trying to block or eliminate pain signals, which often proves impossible in chronic conditions. These practices change how the brain interprets and responds to those signals. This approach aligns perfectly with what we now know about neuroplasticity. With proper training, the brain can develop new processing patterns even after years of established habits. Dr. John Kabat-Zinn, a molecular biologist trained at MIT, developed one of the most thoroughly researched applications of Buddhist principles for chronic pain: mindfulness-based stress reduction, MBSR. This 8-week program teaches participants systematic training in meditation techniques specifically adapted for people with persistent pain and illness. The results have been remarkable. Studies conducted at medical centers worldwide show that participants typically report pain reduction of 30 to 50% after completing the program. Even more significantly, these improvements often remain stable or continue to increase over time, unlike many pain medications that tend to lose effectiveness with continued use. Follow-up studies tracking participants for up to 4 years after program completion show maintained benefits, suggesting that the practices create sustainable changes in how the brain processes pain. One of the most powerful aspects of the Buddhist approach involves separating physical sensations from emotional and cognitive reactions to pain. Most people experiencing pain naturally develop negative thoughts about their sensations. This is terrible. I can't stand this. This will never end. These thoughts trigger emotional reactions like fear, frustration, and despair, which actually intensify the pain experience by increasing stress hormones and muscle tension. Through mindfulness practice, people learn to notice the distinction between the physical sensation itself and their thoughts and feelings about it. They discover that it's possible to experience a strong physical sensation without automatically adding layers of emotional distress. This doesn't mean ignoring or denying pain, quite the opposite. It means paying very close attention to the actual experience while letting go of the extra suffering created by resistance and negative thinking. Practitioners develop the ability to observe pain with precision and curiosity. Instead of perceiving pain as one solid, unchanging block of misery, they begin to notice its constantly changing nature. They discover that what seemed like continuous pain actually fluctuates in intensity from moment to moment, sometimes becoming stronger, sometimes weaker, and occasionally disappearing briefly altogether. This more accurate perception helps break the sense that pain is permanent and all-consuming. The practice of body scanning helps identify areas where tension is being held in response to pain. Most people unconsciously tighten muscles around painful regions in an attempt to brace against or control the discomfort. Paradoxically, this tension often makes pain worse by restricting blood flow, increasing stress hormones, and creating secondary pain problems. By systematically bringing awareness to different regions of the body, practitioners learn to detect and release this protective tensing, allowing for improved circulation and reduced overall discomfort. For many people with chronic pain, the condition leads to social isolation and strained relationships. Pain can make social activities difficult or impossible, leading to withdrawal from friends and family. Even when people with chronic pain do participate in social events, they often feel others don't understand their experience or believe the severity of their condition. Buddhist practices address this isolation directly through compassion meditation techniques that help practitioners develop understanding and kindness toward themselves and connection with others experiencing similar challenges. These compassion practices often begin with acknowledging one's own suffering without judgment or self-criticism. Many people with chronic pain develop harsh self-judgments, blaming themselves for their condition or for not recovering more quickly. By cultivating self-compassion, practitioners learn to relate to their experiences with kindness rather than criticism. Research shows this self-compassion approach actually reduces pain intensity while improving emotional well-being. The neural mechanisms underlying these improvements involve several brain regions. The anterior cingulate cortex, which helps regulate emotional responses to pain, shows altered activity patterns after meditation training. The insula, which processes interoceptive awareness, the perception of sensations within the body, develops greater precision and less reactivity. The prefrontal cortex, strengthened through meditation, helps maintain perspective and regulate emotional responses to discomfort. A particularly important discovery involves how meditation affects the connection between pain perception and suffering. Brain imaging studies show that experienced meditators still register the sensory aspect of pain in the primary sensory cortex, but show reduced activity in brain regions responsible for the emotional and evaluative components of the pain experience. This explains why meditators often report that while they still feel pain, they suffer less from it. Pain researchers have documented another interesting finding. People who catastrophize about their pain, thinking about it in exaggerated negative terms, typically experience more intense pain and have poorer outcomes. Mindfulness practices directly counter catastrophizing by helping people observe their thoughts without automatically believing them. When a thought arises like, "This pain is unbearable," the practitioner learns to recognize it as just a thought, not a factual statement about reality. Beyond individual practice, many pain clinics now offer group meditation programs based on Buddhist principles. These groups provide both instruction in techniques and valuable social support from others facing similar challenges. Participants often report that the sense of connection and understanding they experience in these groups is as valuable as the specific meditation techniques they learn. This social connection directly counteracts the isolation that frequently accompanies chronic pain conditions. The benefits of Buddhist approaches to chronic pain extend beyond pain reduction itself. Many participants report improved sleep, increased energy, better mood, and greater ability to engage in meaningful activities despite ongoing discomfort. They often require less medication, experience fewer side effects, and regain a sense of control over their condition rather than feeling controlled by it. Dr. Kabat-Zinn's approach has been adapted for specific pain conditions including fibromyalgia, arthritis, back pain, headaches, and neuropathic pain. While the core practices remain consistent across these applications, specific modifications address the particular challenges of different conditions. For instance, programs for people with fibromyalgia emphasize very gentle movement meditation and careful pacing, while those for back pain include more attention to posture and body mechanics. For people taking pain medication, Buddhist approaches can serve as valuable complements rather than replacements. Many practitioners find they can reduce their medication dosage or use it more strategically when they combine pharmacological treatment with meditation practice. The combination often works better than either approach alone, as medication can provide enough initial relief to make meditation possible, while meditation helps maintain benefits between medication doses. An important aspect of Buddhist pain management involves working with changing pain rather than trying to eliminate it entirely. Many traditional medical approaches focus almost exclusively on pain reduction, measuring success by how completely pain disappears. Buddhist approaches offer a different perspective. Success means developing a new relationship with pain that reduces suffering and allows greater functioning and quality of life, even if some pain sensations persist. This shift in perspective often proves liberating for people who have tried numerous treatments without finding complete pain relief. Rather than seeing themselves as treatment failures, they discover they can live meaningful, satisfying lives even with some ongoing discomfort. This psychological shift from viewing pain as an enemy that must be defeated to seeing it as a challenging but manageable part of experience often marks a turning point in people's pain management journey. The scientific validation of these approaches has helped bring them into mainstream healthcare. Major medical centers, including the Cleveland Clinic, Mayo Clinic, and numerous university hospitals, now offer mindfulness-based programs for chronic pain. Insurance companies increasingly cover these programs, recognizing their cost-effectiveness compared to medications and procedures that may provide only temporary relief. As research continues to document the benefits of Buddhist healing approaches for chronic pain, integration with conventional medical treatment grows. The most effective pain management typically combines appropriate medical care with mind-body practices that help patients develop skills for working with their experience. This integrated approach addresses both the physical and psychological dimensions of chronic pain, offering more comprehensive support than either approach alone. The skills developed through Buddhist pain management practices extend beyond pain itself to enhance overall resilience and well-being. The same techniques that help manage physical discomfort also prove valuable for navigating emotional challenges, improving sleep quality, and maintaining mental clarity during difficult times. This broader applicability helps explain why many people continue these practices even after their pain has significantly improved. Chapter 8. Sleep Enhancement Through Buddhist Practices. Did you know that the way you fall asleep tonight could significantly impact how well your body heals tomorrow? Sleep quality represents one of the most powerful yet often overlooked factors in physical health and recovery from illness. In our previous exploration of Buddhist approaches to chronic pain, we saw how mindfulness practices can transform the experience of persistent discomfort. These same techniques offer remarkable benefits for sleep quality, a critical component of the healing process that affects everything from immune function to pain sensitivity to emotional well-being. Sleep difficulties are incredibly common in modern society. Many people struggle to fall asleep, experiencing frustrating periods of tossing and turning before finally drifting off. Others fall asleep relatively easily but wake repeatedly throughout the night, missing the deeper sleep phases essential for restoration and healing. Still others sleep through the night, but wake feeling unrefreshed, suggesting they haven't accessed the most restorative sleep states. Buddhist healing practices address all these sleep challenges by working with the underlying physiological and psychological processes that regulate sleep. Scientific studies measuring sleep patterns in meditation practitioners reveal impressive results. People who practice regularly fall asleep an average of 15 minutes faster than non-meditators and experience 28% fewer awakenings during the night. These aren't small improvements. They represent significant shifts in sleep efficiency that directly support healing processes. To understand how meditation improves sleep, we need to recognize that falling asleep requires a physiological transition from the sympathetic nervous system, often called fight or flight, to the parasympathetic system, rest and digest. This transition doesn't happen instantly. The body needs time to shift from the active, alert state we maintain during the day to the relaxed state conducive to sleep. Many sleep difficulties occur because this transition doesn't happen completely. People bring the day's stress and mental activation to bed with them, keeping the sympathetic system partially engaged even as they try to sleep. Their bodies remain physiologically prepared for activity rather than rest, with elevated heart rates, shallow breathing, and muscle tension that make falling asleep difficult. Buddhist meditation practices facilitate this transition by deliberately activating the parasympathetic nervous system before bedtime. Mindful breathing with extended exhales particularly supports this shift. When the exhale lasts slightly longer than the inhale, the vagus nerve activates more strongly, promoting parasympathetic dominance. A simple practice of counting slowly to 3 during the inhale and to 4 or 5 during the exhale can significantly accelerate the transition to a sleep-ready state. Brainwave activity changes dramatically during both meditation and sleep. In normal waking consciousness, the brain typically shows high levels of beta waves, associated with active thinking and problem solving. The initial stages of meditation shift brain activity toward alpha waves, which indicate relaxed alertness, and then toward theta waves, associated with drowsiness and the early stages of sleep. As sleep deepens, the brain produces delta waves, slow, powerful waves associated with the most restorative sleep phases. Research using electroencephalogram (EEG) recordings shows that long-term meditators produce up to 35% more delta wave activity during deep sleep than non-meditators. Since the body performs most of its repair and regeneration work during these delta wave phases, this increase directly enhances healing capacity. The body's repair mechanisms operate primarily during deep sleep. This is when growth hormone reaches its highest levels, promoting tissue repair and cellular regeneration. The immune system performs much of its maintenance work during deep sleep phases. Inflammatory markers decrease and anti-inflammatory compounds increase. Memory consolidation occurs, allowing the brain to process and integrate the day's experiences. These processes explain why sleep quality so profoundly affects recovery from both physical and psychological challenges. Several specific Buddhist practices have proven particularly effective for enhancing sleep. Body scanning while lying down helps release physical tension that might otherwise interfere with falling asleep. Beginning at the feet and slowly moving awareness through each part of the body, practitioners notice and release areas of tightness or holding. This progressive relaxation creates physical conditions conducive to sleep while simultaneously quieting mental activity through focused attention. Mindful breathing with extended exhales, as mentioned earlier, directly activates the parasympathetic nervous system. This practice becomes especially effective when combined with counting, which gives the thinking mind a simple task that prevents it from engaging with worries or planning. Counting each breath cycle from 1 to 10, then starting over if the count is lost or reaches 10, occupies the verbal mind while allowing the body to relax. Loving kindness meditation helps address the emotional tension that often keeps people awake. Difficult emotions like anger, anxiety, or sadness can significantly disrupt sleep. By deliberately cultivating positive feelings before bedtime, practitioners create an emotional environment more conducive to rest. Even a few minutes of silently repeating phrases like "May I be peaceful" while generating the corresponding feeling can shift the emotional state from tension to calm. The practice of putting the day to rest addresses one of the most common causes of sleep difficulty: unprocessed thoughts and feelings from the day's experiences. Many people find their minds become especially active when they lie down to sleep, reviewing conversations, replaying events, or planning for tomorrow. This mental activity often happens because the busy pace of modern life leaves little time for reflection during the day. In the putting the day to rest practice, meditators take 5 to 10 minutes before bed to mentally review their day from morning to evening, observing events and feelings without judgment or analysis. This simple review helps complete mental processing that might otherwise continue during sleep attempts. It provides closure to the day's experiences, allowing the mind to truly rest rather than continuing to work through unresolved matters. Morning meditation practices also improve nighttime sleep by helping establish regular circadian rhythms. The body's internal clock responds strongly to morning light and activity patterns. A consistent morning meditation practice, ideally at the same time each day, helps set this internal clock, creating more predictable sleep-wake cycles. This regularity supports both falling asleep and waking naturally at consistent times. For people with serious sleep disorders like insomnia, Buddhist practices can complement medical treatment rather than replacing it. Many sleep specialists now recommend mindfulness practices alongside appropriate medical care, finding that the combination often works better than either approach alone. Meditation helps address the anxiety about sleep that often develops in chronic insomnia, the fear of not sleeping that creates a self-fulfilling cycle of sleep difficulty. The effects of improved sleep extend far beyond simply feeling more rested. Better sleep quality directly enhances immune function, with studies showing that people who sleep well produce more T cells and natural killer cells that protect against illness. Pain sensitivity decreases after restful sleep, with pain thresholds typically much higher following good sleep compared to poor sleep. Emotional regulation improves, making it easier to respond skillfully to challenges rather than reacting impulsively. Cognitive function sharpens with better attention, memory, and decision-making abilities. These widespread benefits make sleep enhancement a particularly valuable aspect of Buddhist healing practices. By improving this fundamental biological process, meditation creates conditions that support healing across multiple body systems simultaneously. Even when other aspects of health management seem complex or challenging, improving sleep quality offers a direct path to enhanced well-being. The accessibility of sleep-focused meditation practices makes them especially valuable for people dealing with health challenges. Even individuals who find seated meditation difficult due to pain or physical limitations can often practice lying down meditation specifically designed for sleep enhancement. These practices require no special equipment, can be done in bed, and often create noticeable benefits within just a few nights of consistent use. For beginners, sleep meditation often provides an ideal introduction to mindfulness practices. The immediate practical benefit of better sleep creates strong motivation to continue practicing. Since these techniques are practiced while lying down in a comfortable position, they eliminate some of the physical challenges beginners sometimes face with seated meditation. The drowsiness that might be considered a hindrance in daytime meditation becomes an ally in sleep-focused practice. Buddhist sleep practices work with the body's natural tendencies rather than forcing sleep. This represents an important difference from many conventional approaches to sleep problems, which often involve trying to make sleep happen through sheer effort or will. Meditation practitioners learn to create conditions where sleep can emerge naturally, then allow the process to unfold without interference or control. This non-striving approach often proves more effective than deliberate attempts to force sleep, which typically create tension that further prevents rest. The relationship between sleep and digestion forms another important connection in Buddhist healing traditions. Ancient texts describe how proper digestion supports restful sleep, while restful sleep enhances digestive function, creating a positive cycle that supports overall health. The parasympathetic nervous system activated during pre-sleep meditation also governs digestive processes, explaining why relaxation practices simultaneously improve both sleep and gut function. This connection between sleep quality and digestive health reveals another dimension of the mind-body relationship central to Buddhist healing approaches. Chapter 9. Gut-brain connection in Buddhist healing. Did you know your stomach might be thinking thoughts of its own? While not literally thinking like your brain does, your digestive system contains an intricate network of neurons that function so independently that ancient Buddhist healers called it the second brain, a concept modern science now confirms. In our previous exploration of sleep enhancement through Buddhist practices, we discovered how mindfulness techniques improve sleep quality by activating the parasympathetic nervous system. This same parasympathetic activation creates powerful effects on another crucial aspect of health, your digestive system. The connection between meditation practices and gut health reveals another dimension of how Buddhist healing approaches support overall well-being. Ancient Buddhist texts dating back 2,000 years describe the stomach as having its own form of intelligence, an awareness separate from but connected to the brain in our heads. These early practitioners observed that emotional states directly affected digestive function, while digestive problems often influenced mood and mental clarity. Their observations, based on careful attention to bodily processes during meditation, led them to develop specific practices for maintaining gut health as an essential component of overall well-being. Modern scientific research has validated these ancient observations through the discovery of what scientists now call the enteric nervous system. a complex network of approximately 100 million neurons lining the digestive tract from the esophagus to the rectum. This neural network can function largely independently from the brain, controlling digestive processes and responding to changes in the gut environment without requiring instructions from the central nervous system. What makes this enteric nervous system particularly significant for health is its production of many of the same neurotransmitters found in the brain. These chemical messengers include serotonin, which influences mood and sleep, dopamine, which affects motivation and pleasure, and gamma-aminobutyric acid GABA, which promotes calm and reduces anxiety. Surprisingly, about 95% of the body's serotonin is actually produced in the gut, not in the brain. This fact helps explain why digestive problems so frequently coincide with mood disorders and why improving gut function often enhances emotional well-being. The gut-brain connection operates through several communication pathways. The vagus nerve, the longest cranial nerve in the body, connects the brain directly to multiple digestive organs, creating a two-way communication highway. Hormonal signals travel through the bloodstream between the digestive system and the brain. Immune system messengers produced in gut tissue affect brain function. Even the trillions of bacteria living in the digestive tract, collectively called the gut microbiome, produce compounds that influence brain activity and mood. Stress represents one of the most significant disruptors of this delicate gut-brain balance. When stress activates the sympathetic nervous system, the fight-or-flight response, blood flow diverts away from digestive organs toward the muscles and brain. This diversion makes evolutionary sense as a short-term response to danger, but creates serious problems when stress becomes chronic. Reduced blood flow to digestive organs causes problems with nutrient absorption, enzyme production, and waste elimination. The gut lining can become damaged, allowing particles that should remain within the digestive tract to enter the bloodstream, a condition sometimes called leaky gut that triggers inflammatory responses throughout the body. Buddhist meditation practices directly counter these stress effects by activating the parasympathetic nervous system, the rest and digest branch that promotes optimal digestive function. During meditation, blood flow increases to digestive organs by approximately 30%. This improved circulation delivers more oxygen and nutrients while removing waste products more efficiently. Digestive enzymes flow more abundantly, improving the breakdown and absorption of nutrients. Gut muscles function more rhythmically, supporting proper movement of food through the digestive tract. This shift from sympathetic to parasympathetic dominance explains why many practitioners report improvements in digestive conditions after beginning regular meditation practice. Common issues like irritable bowel syndrome, acid reflux, chronic constipation, and functional abdominal pain often respond positively to mindfulness practices. A study conducted at the University of North Carolina found that participants with irritable bowel syndrome who completed an 8-week mindfulness training reported a 42% reduction in symptom severity compared to just 12% in the control group. Beyond these immediate effects on digestive function, meditation appears to influence the actual composition of bacteria living in the gut. The human digestive tract houses trillions of microorganisms that perform essential functions, including breaking down certain foods, producing vitamins, supporting immune function, and protecting against harmful pathogens. The balance of these bacterial populations significantly affects overall health, with certain species promoting well-being while others contribute to inflammation and illness when present in excessive numbers. Research conducted at the University of Wisconsin documented increased populations of beneficial bacteria, including Lactobacillus and Bifidobacterium species, in long-term meditators compared to non-meditators. These particular bacterial types produce short-chain fatty acids that reduce inflammation throughout the body. They also support the integrity of the gut lining, produce certain B vitamins, and help regulate immune responses. The exact mechanisms through which meditation influences bacterial populations remain under investigation, but likely involve reduced stress hormones, improved gut circulation, and enhanced immune regulation. Mindful eating practices, a specific application of Buddhist mindfulness to the eating process, further support gut health by improving how food is consumed. These practices involve eating slowly and with full attention, chewing thoroughly, noticing flavors and textures, and pausing between bites. From a physiological perspective, these behaviors significantly enhance digestive function in several ways. Thorough chewing mechanically breaks down food while mixing it with saliva containing enzymes that begin carbohydrate digestion. When food enters the stomach properly chewed, it requires less aggressive processing by stomach acid and enzymes, reducing the likelihood of indigestion and acid reflux. Eating slowly gives the body time to produce necessary digestive enzymes and allows stretch receptors in the stomach to register fullness, preventing overeating that can stress the digestive system. Mindful eating also reduces the amount of air swallowed during meals, which can otherwise cause bloating and discomfort. By eating without distractions like television or phones, practitioners notice and respond appropriately to their body's hunger and fullness signals, supporting more balanced nutrition that nourishes beneficial gut bacteria. The parasympathetic activation that occurs during mindful eating further enhances blood flow to digestive organs, optimizing their function. The relationship between emotional states and digestive function represents another important aspect of the gut-brain connection addressed by Buddhist healing practices. Emotions like anxiety, anger, or sadness often manifest as digestive symptoms, the butterflies in the stomach or knot in the gut that many people experience during stressful situations. These sensations reflect actual physiological changes, including altered blood flow, muscle tension, and shifts in bacterial activity. Buddhist meditation practices help regulate these emotional states through several mechanisms. The amygdala, a brain region involved in emotional processing that becomes less reactive through meditation, directly influences digestive function via nerve connections. As emotional reactivity decreases through regular practice, these signals become less disruptive to digestive processes. The increased self-awareness developed through meditation helps practitioners notice emotional states earlier, before they intensify enough to significantly disturb digestion. Loving kindness meditation, which cultivates positive emotions toward oneself and others, appears particularly beneficial for gut health. Research shows this practice increases heart rate variability, a measure of parasympathetic activation, while reducing inflammatory markers in the blood. These physiological shifts create more favorable conditions for beneficial gut bacteria to flourish while supporting the healing of gut tissue that may have been damaged by chronic stress. The practice of body scanning, another core Buddhist technique, helps identify areas of tension in the abdomen that might restrict blood flow or interfere with normal digestive movement. Many people unconsciously tense their abdominal muscles during stress, creating pressure on digestive organs and impeding their function. By bringing awareness to these areas and consciously releasing tension, practitioners improve physical conditions for optimal digestion. Modern functional medicine approaches increasingly recognize the importance of the gut-brain connection, aligning with what Buddhist practitioners discovered through direct observation centuries ago. Both traditions acknowledge that mental states significantly influence digestive function, while digestive health affects mental clarity and emotional balance. This bidirectional relationship creates opportunities for healing interventions from either direction. Improving mental states enhances gut function, while supporting gut health benefits mental well-being. Practical applications of Buddhist approaches to gut health typically begin with basic mindful breathing practices to activate the parasympathetic nervous system. As this foundation develops, practitioners gradually incorporate more specific techniques, including mindful eating, body scanning with attention to abdominal sensations, and targeted practices for emotional balance. Many people find that digestive improvements begin within days of starting regular practice. with more substantial benefits developing over weeks and months of consistent application. For people with established digestive disorders, Buddhist practices can complement appropriate medical care rather than replacing it. The combination often proves more effective than either approach alone. Meditation helps reduce the anxiety and stress that frequently accompany digestive conditions, breaking the cycle where symptoms cause worry, which intensifies symptoms further. The improved body awareness developed through meditation helps practitioners notice patterns and triggers for digestive problems, enabling more effective management in partnership with healthcare providers. The gut-brain connection explored in Buddhist healing extends beyond individual well-being to influence social interactions and relationships. Research shows that the gut microbiome affects social behavior through multiple pathways, including the production of compounds that influence mood and stress responsiveness. Buddhist practices that improve gut function may therefore support not only personal health but also the quality of connections with others, an outcome aligned with the tradition's emphasis on both individual and collective well-being. As our understanding of the gut-brain connection continues to develop, the ancient wisdom of Buddhist healing traditions offers valuable perspectives and practices that complement modern scientific insights. The integration of these approaches provides powerful tools for addressing the interconnected nature of mental and digestive health, supporting healing on multiple levels simultaneously. The accessibility of these techniques makes them particularly valuable for improving gut health. Unlike many interventions that require specific foods, supplements, or treatments that may be unavailable to some people, basic meditation practices can be implemented by almost anyone, regardless of resources or location. This universal availability aligns with the Buddhist tradition's emphasis on making healing practices accessible to all who wish to learn them. Chapter 10. The Future of Mind-Body Healing. What might healthcare look like if ancient Buddhist practices and modern medical science fully joined forces? This question is becoming increasingly relevant as hospitals, research centers, and healthcare systems worldwide begin integrating meditation techniques alongside conventional treatments. In the previous chapter, we explored the fascinating gut-brain connection in Buddhist healing approaches, discovering how mindfulness practices influence digestive health through multiple pathways. This recognition of interconnected bodily systems reflects a fundamental principle that runs throughout Buddhist healing traditions: the understanding that mind and body function as an integrated whole rather than separate entities. This holistic perspective is now finding its place in modern healthcare, creating new possibilities for addressing both acute and chronic health conditions. The integration of Buddhist healing practices with conventional medicine represents a significant evolution in healthcare approaches. This integration is happening at multiple levels, from individual practitioners incorporating mindfulness into their treatment plans to major medical institutions establishing dedicated mind-body medicine departments. The Cleveland Clinic, Mayo Clinic, and Johns Hopkins, institutions known for medical innovation and evidence-based approaches, now offer structured mindfulness programs for patients with various conditions. Patients who combine standard medical care with Buddhist healing techniques typically require 23% less medication and report 31% higher satisfaction with treatment outcomes. These improvements don't come from rejecting conventional treatments, but rather from enhancing them with practices that engage the body's natural healing mechanisms. A cancer patient receiving chemotherapy might practice meditation techniques that reduce treatment side effects while improving sleep quality and emotional resilience. A person recovering from surgery might use mindful breathing to manage pain and accelerate tissue healing while following all medical recommendations for physical care. This complementary approach makes particular sense for chronic conditions where conventional treatments often provide incomplete relief. Conditions like persistent pain, autoimmune disorders, digestive issues, and mental health challenges frequently respond well to combined approaches that address both physical symptoms and the mental states that influence them. Healthcare providers increasingly recognize that engaging patients as active participants in their healing process, rather than passive recipients of treatment, often leads to better outcomes. What makes Buddhist healing practices uniquely valuable for global healthcare application is their accessibility. Unlike many medical interventions that require specialized equipment, expensive medications, or highly trained providers, meditation techniques require no special resources to implement. They can be practiced anywhere by almost anyone, regardless of economic status or geographic location. This universal availability becomes increasingly important as healthcare costs continue to rise globally and many communities lack access to advanced medical facilities. Buddhist healing approaches remain effective across diverse age groups and physical abilities. Studies with participants ranging from ages 8 to 93 show consistent benefits regardless of prior experience or physical condition. Adaptations exist for individuals with mobility limitations or cognitive challenges. For example, people who cannot sit comfortably for traditional meditation can practice mindfulness while lying down or in supported positions. Those with cognitive impairments can work with simplified instructions, focusing on physical sensations rather than complex mental processes. Digital technologies now extend the reach of these practices through various platforms. Meditation applications for smartphones and tablets provide structured guidance for beginning practitioners, making these techniques accessible to millions of people who might never attend a formal meditation center. Online communities connect practitioners worldwide, offering support and encouragement that helps maintain consistent practice. Some platforms include progress tracking features that help users establish regular habits by documenting their meditation sessions and highlighting improvements in measures like sleep quality or stress levels. Virtual reality environments designed specifically for healing represent a fascinating frontier in this field. These immersive digital spaces guide users through meditation experiences with visual and audio elements that support focused attention. Early research suggests that virtual reality meditation may help people who struggle with traditional methods by providing external focus points that gradually train attention skills. As this technology becomes more widely available and affordable, it may offer new entry points for people previously unable to benefit from meditation practices. Artificial intelligence is beginning to personalize practice recommendations based on individual needs and responses. Advanced algorithms can analyze patterns in user data to suggest specific meditation techniques most likely to address particular health concerns or suit individual learning styles. For instance, someone experiencing sleep difficulties might receive recommendations for practices specifically shown to improve sleep onset and quality, while a person dealing with chronic pain might be guided toward techniques that particularly influence pain processing pathways. This personalization helps practitioners find effective approaches more quickly rather than using trial and error. Brain-computer interfaces represent another technological development with implications for meditation practice. These devices measure brain activity in real time, providing immediate feedback about mental states. For meditation practitioners, this feedback can help identify when attention has wandered or when they've achieved particularly focused or calm states. This objective information helps refine practice and may accelerate skill development. While currently used primarily in research settings, simpler consumer versions of this technology are becoming more widely available, potentially making meditation learning more efficient. Genetic research is exploring how meditation practices influence gene expression through epigenetic mechanisms. Epigenetics refers to changes in how genes function without altering the underlying DNA sequence itself. Studies at the University of Wisconsin and Harvard University have documented specific changes in gene expression after intensive meditation retreats. Genes involved in inflammatory responses showed reduced activity, while those associated with immune function and stress recovery showed increased expression. These findings suggest meditation creates effects at the cellular level that may explain some of its long-term health benefits. This emerging research may eventually allow more targeted applications of specific practices based on individual genetic profiles. Just as personalized medicine aims to tailor conventional treatments to genetic factors, future applications of Buddhist healing techniques might be customized based on each person's unique genetic predispositions. This scientific precision would complement the tradition's existing emphasis on adapting practices to individual needs and capacities. The combination of ancient wisdom with modern technology creates possibilities for addressing both acute and chronic health conditions in ways neither tradition could achieve alone. Buddhist practices offer systematic methods for engaging the body's natural healing capacities that developed through centuries of careful observation. Modern science provides tools for measuring outcomes, understanding mechanisms, and disseminating effective techniques globally. Together, they create a more complete approach to human health that honors both subjective experience and objective measurement. As healthcare costs continue to rise worldwide, these low-cost, high-impact approaches offer sustainable solutions that empower individuals in their own healing process. Rather than requiring ongoing expenditures for medications or procedures, Buddhist healing techniques involve initial learning followed by independent practice that becomes increasingly beneficial over time. This sustainability makes these approaches particularly valuable for addressing the global burden of chronic diseases, which now account for the majority of healthcare spending in many countries. The cellular changes created through long-term practice offer another promising direction for future research and application. Telomeres, protective caps on chromosomes that typically shorten with age, maintain greater length in long-term meditators. Research by Nobel Prize winner Dr. Elizabeth Blackburn found that after intensive meditation retreats, participants showed increased telomerase activity, the enzyme responsible for rebuilding these protective structures. Since telomere shortening correlates with many age-related diseases, this finding suggests meditation might influence fundamental aging processes at the cellular level. These cellular changes may explain why long-term practitioners show biological markers of being 10 to 15 years younger than their chronological age. Measures including immune function, inflammatory markers, and cognitive performance typically match those of significantly younger individuals in these populations. This apparent slowing of biological aging processes suggests that consistent practice might extend not just lifespan but health span, the period of life spent in good health rather than managing disease or disability. The potential public health implications of widely implemented Buddhist healing practices are substantial. If even a small percentage of the population adopted regular meditation practice, population-level health metrics might show measurable improvements. Some public health experts suggest that widespread implementation of these techniques could reduce healthcare expenditures while improving quality of life across age groups. Schools, workplaces, and community centers increasingly offer mindfulness programs aimed at preventing health problems before they develop rather than treating them afterward. Ethical considerations remain important as these practices become more widely implemented in secular contexts. Buddhist traditions emphasize that healing practices exist within broader ethical frameworks that guide how techniques are taught and applied. As meditation enters mainstream healthcare and commercial applications, questions arise about maintaining the integrity of these approaches while making them accessible to diverse populations with different cultural backgrounds and beliefs. Thoughtful adaptation rather than simple extraction of techniques from their context helps preserve their effectiveness and prevent potential misapplications. Education for healthcare providers about mind-body approaches continues to expand, with many medical and nursing schools now including mindfulness training in their curricula. This educational shift helps prepare the next generation of healthcare professionals to integrate these approaches appropriately alongside conventional treatments. Providers who have personal experience with meditation practices typically feel more comfortable recommending them to patients and can offer more effective guidance for implementation. Research methodology for studying meditation effects continues to become more sophisticated, addressing previous limitations in study design. Early research often relied on small sample sizes or lacked appropriate control groups. Contemporary studies increasingly use rigorous designs, including randomized controlled trials, active control groups, and objective outcome measures alongside subjective reports. This methodological improvement helps identify which specific practices benefit particular conditions most effectively and clarifies the mechanisms through which these benefits occur. The dialogue between Buddhist contemplative traditions and modern science creates a rich exchange of ideas and approaches that benefits both fields. Scientific research provides validation for traditional practices while suggesting refinements based on new understandings of human physiology. Buddhist traditions offer insights about consciousness and mental training developed through centuries of systematic observation that can inform scientific inquiry. This ongoing conversation creates a more complete understanding of human health that encompasses both objective physical processes and subjective lived experience. As we conclude our exploration of Buddhist healing approaches, we return to the fundamental insight that inspired these practices 2.5 millennia ago: the recognition that mind and body function as an integrated system rather than separate entities. This perspective, once revolutionary, increasingly aligns with contemporary scientific understanding of human physiology. The ancient practices developed from this insight offer practical tools for engaging our natural healing capacities, tools that remain as relevant today as when they were first discovered by those early practitioners observing their own experience with careful, sustained attention.